I never thought I'd smile while watching my entire career implode. But there I was, coffee in hand, as the HR drones circled like vultures. "Eden Harper, you're under investigation for embezzlement," Victoria Slade hissed, her perfectly manicured nails tapping the termination letter like she was playing a funeral dirge on my grave. What she didn't know, what no one did, was that by lunchtime, I'd have her badge, her reputation, and her spotless facade shattered into 1,000 irreparable pieces. It started 6 months earlier, back when I still believed in loyalty, in the kind of friendships forged in the fluorescent hell of open-plan offices. Technova Solutions, our mid-sized software firm in Seattle's rainy belly, was the kind of place where dreams went to die under the weight of endless JIRA tickets and performative team-building retreats. I was a mid-level project manager, the glue holding our dev team together, 32, single, with a one-bedroom in Capitol Hill that smelled faintly of takeout pad thai and unfulfilled potential. My best friend at work? That was Lena Vasquez, the sharp-tongued QA lead who'd crashed into my life during orientation, all fiery Latina energy and inside jokes about our micromanaging boss, Greg. Lena and I were inseparable. Happy hours at the Pike Place dive bars, venting sessions over Slack about Victoria Slade, the HR queen bee with her power suits and passive-aggressive emails that could curdle milk. Victoria was the epitome of corporate poison, mid-40s, blonde bob that screamed, "I read lean in once," and a reputation for handling problems with the subtlety of a sledgehammer. She'd risen through the ranks by burying scandals under NDAs and forcing out anyone who dared whisper, "hostile work environment." We called her the Viper behind her back because she struck fast and left you questioning if it even happened. But Lena? Lena was my ride or die. Or so I thought. We'd bonded over shared scars. Me, the kid from a broken home in Spokane who'd clawed her way through community college on scholarships. Her, the immigrant's daughter from East LA who'd aced her comp sci degree while dodging deportation scares for her folks. "We're the underdogs, Eden," she'd say, clinking her IPA against mine. "Someday, we'll run this shit show." The first crack appeared during the quarterly audit, a soul-sucking ritual where finance poured over every expense report like it was the Dead Sea Scrolls. I was knee-deep in it, cross-referencing vendor invoices for our latest app rollout, when Lena pulled me aside in the break room. Her eyes were wide, pupils dilated like she'd mainlined espresso. "Eden, I fucked up. Big time." She spilled it in a frantic whisper. During a late-night code review, she'd accidentally rerouted a $50,000 wire transfer meant for our cloud vendor straight into a dummy offshore account. Some glitch in the payment portal she'd overlooked in her exhaustion. It wasn't theft, she swore. It was a fat finger error, the kind that happens when you're pulling 18-hour days on Red Bull and Spite. But if it came out, she'd be fired, maybe prosecuted. Her green card was still provisional. One whiff of financial misconduct, and she'd be on a plane back to a family that could barely afford the remittances she sent home. "I covered it as best I could," she said, voice cracking. "Bounced the funds back through a sub-account. But the trail, it's messy. If anyone digs, it'll look like I did it on purpose." My stomach dropped. I knew the stakes. Technova's board was paranoid after a competitor's Enron Light scandal, and Victoria had a nose for blood. "Why me?" I asked, because part of me already sensed the ask coming. "You're clean, Eden. Rock solid. If we pin it on, I don't know, some ghost vendor or whatever, but if it traces back even a little." She trailed off, tears smudging her mascara. "I can't lose this job. My mom's chemo bills." I caved. Of course I did. That's what friends do, right? I logged into the system under her credentials, stupid, but she begged, and doctored a few logs to make it look like an external hack attempt. Nothing major. Altered timestamps, a fake IP bounce from Eastern Europe. It bought time, and the audit passed with a yellow flag that finance shrugged off as vendor error. Lena hugged me like I'd saved her soul, whispering promises of eternal gratitude, a raise we'd split when she got promoted. For weeks, it felt like we'd dodged a bullet. We celebrated with cheap tacos from the food truck outside, laughing about how Victoria's hawk eyes had missed it entirely. But guilt gnawed at me like Seattle damp rot. Every time I approved an expense or signed off on a report, I pictured federal agents kicking in my door. I started losing sleep, jumping at shadows in the parking garage. Then came the promotion cycle. Lena got bumped to senior QA, with a corner office and a 20% bump. Me? Greg patted my back and said, "Solid work, Eden, but we're going with fresh blood." Fresh blood named Tyler, a programmer from Stanford who'd networked his way in. I swallowed the bitterness, chalking it up to office politics. Lena pulled strings, she said later, talk me up in meetings. But I saw the way she avoided my eyes at lunch, how her new admin assistant started screening my calls. The real knife twisted on a Tuesday in July, humid even for the Pacific Northwest. I was in the ladies' room, scrolling Slack on my phone, when I overheard them, Victoria and Lena, in the stall next to mine. Toilets flush like thunder, but their voices cut through. Flawless, Lena. The logs you planted? Eden's fingerprints all over them. By Friday, she'll be lucky to get a job at Starbucks. Laughter. Lena's laugh, the one we'd shared over bad karaoke nights. God, Vic, you're a genius. I owe you big. That embezzlement setup? Poetry. My blood turned to ice. Embezzlement? I'd fixed her mistake, not stolen a dime. But as I pieced it together, heart hammering so loud I thought it'd give me away, their words painted the horror. Lena hadn't fucked up. She'd siphoned the funds deliberately, a side hustle to pay off her mom's debts and fund her dream of flipping houses in Ballard. 50 grand was just the start. She'd been skimming for months, small hits that added up. And when the heat came, she'd framed me. Not just the wire, doctored emails, forged approvals, all routed through my user ID. Victoria? She was in on it, taking a 20% cut for facilitating the cover-up and ensuring HR buried any loose ends. They weren't friends. They were co-conspirators, lovers maybe. Whispers of Victoria's messy divorce had fueled office gossip. Lena had flipped, trading my loyalty for a slice of the pie and Victoria's protection. As they exited, heels clicking like gunshots, I stayed frozen on the toilet seat, vomit burning my throat. Betrayal like that? It's not a crack, it's a chasm. I could have gone nuclear right then, stormed into Greg's office, spilled everything with receipts I'd screenshot in a panic. But no, anger has a way of sharpening the mind, and mine turned surgical. They thought I was the fall guy, the disposable underdog. By noon tomorrow, Victoria would be the one packing boxes, her empire of whispers crumbling under the weight of her own venom. And Lena? She'd learned that some debts aren't paid in cash, they're carved in regret. That night, in my apartment with the blinds drawn and a bottle of bourbon half gone, I mapped it out. Revenge isn't about fists or screams. In America, it's about the system, the same machine that chews you up and spits you out. I had assets, my meticulous notes from the audit, backups of Lena's sloppy code commits that showed her access patterns, and a hidden gem I discovered while fixing her mess. A folder on the shared drive labeled VS_personal. Victoria's vanity project of dirt files on every employee. Blackmail fodder, performance reviews twisted into weapons, even whispers of harassment claims she'd quashed for favors. But the real weapon? The truth, weaponized. I started with anonymous tips, a burner email to the company's whistleblower hotline, detailing Lena's schemes with timestamps that matched her login hours. Attached, redacted ledgers showing the offshore bounce. Not enough to nail her outright, but enough to trigger an internal audit, Victoria's domain. Next, I hit the external lines. A quick LinkedIn deep dive revealed Victoria's ex-husband, bitter and litigious, running a PI firm in Tacoma. I FedExed him a USB with snippets from her dirt files, not mine, but a rival ex-sex affair she'd covered up for a board seat. Leverage, my note read. She's vulnerable. By dawn, my eyes burned from screens, but the plan hummed like a well-oiled engine. I showered, threw on my best, devastated professional blouse, and drove to Technova with steel in my spine. The office buzzed with its usual Monday malaise, neon energy drinks, and passive-aggressive post-its. I clocked in, smiled at the receptionist like nothing was rotting inside me. 9 a.m., Victoria's summons. Her office was a shrine to minimalism. Glass desk, Eames chair, a single succulent mocking my parched soul. She leaned back, lips pursed in that faux-concerned pout. Eden, we've got a situation. Irregularities in the Q2 finances. Your approvals are. Flag. I played the part. Wide eyes, trembling hands. What? Me? Victoria. I swear, I've been transparent. Save it. She slid the folder across, photos of my emails requesting transfers, timestamps I'd recognize from my own nightmares. Lena's work, polished to incriminate. Cops are en route. Embezzlement's a felony. But cooperate, and maybe we keep it in-house. The hook was set. I nodded, tears welling on cue. Method acting from too many Lifetime movies. As she droned on about integrity clauses and exit packages, my phone buzzed silently. The whistleblower confirmation. Audit team mobilized. 10 a.m. Chaos rippled. Finance burst into a huddle, voices leaking through walls like smoke. Lena shot me a pitying glance across the bullpen, mouthing, "You okay?" Hypocrite. I excused myself to the powder room, where I fired off the next volley. A tip to the Seattle Times business desk, anonymized through a VPN. Technova HR cover-up, executive theft ring. Vague enough to hook, juicy enough to reel. By 10:30, Victoria's assistant was fielding calls from irate board members. Her ex's doing, no doubt. I watched from my desk as she stormed out, barking orders like a general in retreat. Greg called an all-hands, face grim over Zoom. Potential breach. Everyone, stand by. Noon approached like a guillotine. I lingered by the coffee station, heart pounding in sync with the espresso machine's hiss. Then it hit. Sirens, distant but closing. Not for me. For the lobby, where two detectives in ill-fitting suits flashed badges at security. Victoria emerged, composed as ever, guiding them to a conference room. Lena trailed, pale as printer paper. I slipped into the adjacent AV closet, door cracked just enough for audio bleed. Risky, but the gods of payback favored the bold. That initial reports point to multiple actors. One cop drawled, Southern transplant by the accent. Your QA leads accounts show unauthorized access. And Miss Slade? We've got correspondence. Lena cracked first. It was her idea. Victoria said we could skim off the top, that she'd bury it. I needed the money, my mom, but Eden? She was collateral. Victoria's hiss. You little. I covered for you. That file on Harper? It was mercy. Mercy. The word hung, twisting the knife deeper. They discussed me like a chess piece, sacrificed for their queen's gambit. But the recordings I'd rigged, my phone, voice memos app running, caught it all. Crystal. By 12:15, the board convened virtually, faces pixelated with outrage. I stumbled upon the feed, hacked via a forgotten guest login, and watched Victoria's throne crumble. Accusations flew, her cut of the skim, the dirt files violating privacy laws, the ex's lawsuit dropping like napalm. Resign now, or we press charges, the chair barked. She fought, of course, flipping scripts like a pro. Lena framed me. She's the thief. Harper's in on it too. But the audit reports flooded in, my anonymous tips bearing fruit. Lena's code commits, Victoria's emails greenlighting adjustments. 1 p.m., Lena in cuffs, sobbing apologies to no one. Victoria, uncuffed but defeated, signed her resignation in the boardroom, pen scratching like claws on chalkboard. She glared through the glass at me. I'd positioned myself just so, a ghost in the gallery, and for a split second, our eyes locked. Not triumph in mine, just cold finality. I clocked out at 2, the office a ghost town of whispers and wide eyes. Greg cornered me in the elevator. Eden, what the hell happened? You're cleared. Anonymous source. I murmured, stepping into the rain-slicked street. Must be karma. But as I drove home, bourbon calling my name, the high faded into something hollow. I'd won, Viper slayed, Judas exposed. Yet the secret I'd buried? The logs I'd altered, even in fixing Lena's mess? They could still bite me. And deeper still, the what-ifs. Was Lena's mom really dying? Had Victoria's divorce cracked her into this monster? Revenge tasted like ash, because in the end, we'd all stolen something. Trust, innocence, pieces of ourselves. That night, a knock at my door. Not cops, not board members. Lena, bailed out, eyes swollen, rain dripping from her hoodie. Eden, please. It wasn't personal. Vic, she had leverage. That's I couldn't. Get out. My voice was steel, but my hand shook on the knob. She lingered, then slipped an envelope inside. For your mom. The chemo fund. All of it. I slammed the door, envelope burning in my fist. Inside, a cashier's check, 50 grand plus interest. Blood money, but enough to finally bury the ghosts from Spokane. The twist? The next morning, Victoria's LinkedIn glowed with a new gig, head of compliance at a rival firm. She'd flipped the narrative, whistleblower herself, claiming she uncovered the scam from within. Lena? Community service, green card intact, thanks to a plea deal painting her as coerced. Me? Promotion to her old spot, but every meeting now felt like a minefield. I stare at that envelope on my kitchen counter, wondering if I should have let it burn. Revenge fixed nothing, it just shuffled the deck. And in America's Grand Casino, we're all just waiting for the house to call our bluff. Weeks blurred into a fragile normalcy, the kind you build on cracked foundations and forced smiles. Technova tried to paper over the scandal with a glossy, all-company memo. Integrity restored. Forward momentum. Bullshit, of course. The devs whispered about HR purge, and Greg's emails now carried an edge, like he was scanning for saboteurs under every coffee stain. I settled into my interim role, overseeing audits, ironically, with the wariness of a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. But the envelope haunted me. 50 grand, and signed, no note beyond that check. I could have donated it, torched it, or, God forbid, cashed it and bought silence for my own ghosts. Instead, it sat there, a talisman of what-ifs. What if Lena hadn't twisted the knife? What if Victoria's mercy had extended to me? Nights, I'd pace my apartment, Rainier Valley streetlights flickering like faulty synapses, replaying the betrayal in high def. Lena vanished from my orbit, but Seattle's a small pond for techies. Word filtered through mutuals. She'd decamped to a startup in Bellevue, QA gig at half her pay, living lean in a shared house with baristas and bar hoppers. Her mom's chemo? Paid up, apparently, crowdfunding mixed with guilty remittances. Part of me pitied her, the girl who'd once split fries with me at Dick's Drive-In. The rest? A cold fury that kept me sharp. Victoria, though, she was the phantom that wouldn't fade. Her LinkedIn pivot to ethics officer at Apex Dynamics read like satire. Championing transparent cultures after exposing internal fraud. Comments poured in, congrats from Old Boys Club alums, cautious likes from Technova refugees. I itched to comment, to drop a truth bomb in emoji form, but restraint is the revenge artist's art. Instead, I dug deeper, because in the digital age, skeletons don't stay buried, they just migrate to the cloud. My first move was casual reconnaissance, a fake profile on Glassdoor, concerned Anon 87, posting vague reviews of Apex. New hire from Technova, watch your back. Viper in sheep's clothing. It got traction, replies from Burned Bridges, knew her from Deloitte. Buried my harassment claim for a bonus. Thread spun, a digital web tightening. But Victoria was cunning. She lawyered up quick, scrubbing her online footprint like a pro. That's when I hit paydirt, or so I thought. Buried in her ex's PI site, a public records link to their divorce filing. Not just acrimony, allegations. Emotional abuse, financial control. He claimed she'd drained their joint accounts to fund questionable ventures, code for the schemes she'd later honed at Technova. Attached exhibits, bank statements, emails where she gaslit him into silence. For the family, she'd written. Their daughter, 15 at the time, caught in the crossfire, therapy bills, school notes about parental conflict. Controversy brewed in my gut. Was Victoria the monster, or a woman cornered by her own desperation? The Viper's scales weren't pure venom. There was rot beneath, a backstory of boardroom battles and bedroom wars that mirrored my own scars. Mom's cancer had eaten our savings before Medicaid kicked in. I dropped out of high school sports to waitress, resenting every tipped-out night. Empathy crept in, unwanted, like rain through a cracked window. But empathy's a luxury for the unbetrayed. I bookmarked the file, fuel for Phase 2. Phase 2, allies. Not friends, too risky, but pawns. First, Tyler the programmer, now my reluctant underling. He owed me. I'd greenlit his pet project, a buggy AI scheduler that somehow impressed the board. Over lukewarm burritos in the cafeteria, I floated hypotheticals. Ever wonder about Vic's Apex gig? Heard she's poaching Technova talent. His eyes lit, ego stroked. No shit. I could use a lateral move. Stock options suck here. By week's end, he'd LinkedIn connected with her team, dropping my name in casual chats. Eden's got the inside scoop, solid PM. Hook, line, Tyler is unwitting fly. Victoria bit, scheduling a networking coffee at Apex's offices in South Lake Union. I coached him, probe for dirt, record discreetly, Washington's two-party consent be damned for personal notes. He returned buzzing, voice memo gold. Her bragging about flipping the script on Technova, hinting at a class action suit against us for negligent oversight. And the kicker, Lena? Poor kid was in over her head. I tried to protect her, but Eden, she smelled blood. Me, the aggressor? Gaslighting 101. But the memo caught more. Victoria's offhand gripe about her daughter's tuition, private school in Medina, fees that'd bankrupt a family. Desperate times, she sighed. We all make choices. That vulnerability? It humanized her, made the revenge taste sour. But I pressed on, because stopping now would have made me the fool. Next pawn, the Times reporter I'd tipped before. Follow-up, my anonymous email read. Apex's new ethics head? Same player, new game. Check public records, divorce docs tie back to Technova patterns. She bit, because journalists love a sequel. A week later, a teaser article dropped. From scandal to savior? Technova whistleblowers rocky past. No names yet. Ethical hedging. But the message boards exploded. Apex's stock dipped 2%. HR scrambling. Victoria retaliated swift. My inbox filled with concerned messages from her network. Vague threats wrapped in professional courtesy. Heard you're thriving at Technova. Careful with rumors. They boomerang. Then, the call. Blocked number. Her voice like silk over razor wire. Eden. Truce. Coffee. My treat. I met her at a neutral spot, a hipster cafe in Fremont with exposed brick and overpriced lattes. She looked diminished. Hair grayer at the roots, suit a size too big. No viper smirk, just weary calculation. You win, she said, stirring her black coffee. The resignation, the headlines. But this? It's Pyrrhic. Lena's broken. My daughter's asking questions I can't answer. What do you want? Truth. Or closure? Why me? I asked, voice steady despite the storm inside. Lena's your pawn. I was just there. She leaned in, eyes like faded denim. You remind me of her. Of me young. Ambitious, overlooked. But you were too clean, Eden. Too good. Lena needed a scapegoat. I needed plausible deniability. It was business. Business. The American creed, cold as a boardroom AC. We talked, real talk, for once. Her ex's abuse, the debts that drove her to ventures, how Lena's sob stories mirrored her own youth in a Rust Belt mill town. I didn't set out to be the villain, she admitted. But survival? It twists you. I almost bought it. Almost extended an olive branch. Because in that moment, we were mirrors, women navigating the same shark tank, fins nicked by the same currents. But then she flipped, subtle as a card sharp. Join me at Apex. Real power. We could run it. The offer hung. Temptation laced with trap. Say yes, and I'm complicit. No, and the war reignites. I stood, leaving cash for my untouched drink. Enjoy the view from your glass house. Vic Rain's coming. Driving back, Fremont's trolls and totems blurring past, doubt crept in. Was I the hero, or just another viper shedding skin? The check in my glove box whispered alternatives. Walk away, cash it, start fresh. But revenge is addictive, a drip feed of dopamine and dread. Phase 3 loomed. The boardroom coup, where I'd expose her apex charade and claim the crown. Little did I know, Lena had her own cards to play. That night, another knock. Hers this time, eyes hollowed by Bellevue's grind. Eden, don't. Vic's not the endgame. It's bigger. She collapsed on my couch, spilling the real secret. Not just schemes, but a web. Victoria hadn't started it. Greg had, our affable boss, funneling funds to offshore shells for his crypto side hustle. Lena stumbled in, got hooked, and Victoria cleaned up, until the betrayal cascade hit me. I framed you to buy time. Lena confessed, tears carving tracks through cheap foundation. But Greg? He's the spider. And Vic, she's turning on him now. Twist upon twist. Greg, the everyman with the dad jokes in fantasy football leagues? Embezzler in chief. Suddenly, my revenge felt small, a sideshow in a circus of corruption. Why tell me? I demanded, bourbon bottle midway to my lips. Because you're the only one clean enough to burn it down. Her hand on mine, electric with old familiarity. Together? I pulled away, the room spinning. Allies or an ambush? Trust, that fragile bird, fluttered back, wounded, wary. By dawn, I decided, expand the board. Not just Victoria, but the whole rotten core. But as Lena left, envelope in hand. For you. no strings. I wondered if this was redemption or just the next betrayal waiting to bloom. The rain pounded harder, mirroring the storm in my chest. Seattle's gray suited the game. Everything slick, nothing solid. And me? I was all in, chips on the table, praying the house didn't fold first. Dawn broke grudgingly over the sound, painting my kitchen in bruised purple light. Lena's confession lingered like stale smoke, reshaping the battlefield. Greg, the podgy prince of PowerPoints, the guy who'd once cried over a team-building ropes course, running a Ponzi pyramid in plain sight? It tracked, in a sick way, his conference trips to Vegas, the flashy Tesla in the executive lot while the rest of us biked in the drizzle. If he was the architect, Victoria his enforcer, and Lena the reluctant apprentice, then my revenge wasn't a duel, it was a demolition. I needed proof, the kind that stuck like gum on a hot sidewalk. No more whispers or memos, hard evidence, the nuclear option. Step 1, infiltrate. Lena, shaky but committed, slipped me Greg's admin password during a chance coffee run at Elliott Bay Book Company. He reuses password 123 for everything, she muttered, scanning for eavesdroppers. Idiot. By noon, I was in, VPN tunneled from my laptop in a Belltown WeWork, posing as a ghost user. His emails were a gold mine. Threads with consultants in the Caymans, invoices for marketing software that traced to crypto wallets. One attachment stopped my heart. A spreadsheet, Project Phoenix, listing schemes by department. QA, Lena's hits. HR, Victoria's VIG. PMO, a zero next to my name, but a note. Harper, leverage via Vasquez. Neutralize if hot. Neutralize. The word chilled, implying more than pink slips. Had they considered worse? Paranoia bloomed, but so did purpose. I downloaded, encrypted, and ghosted out, heart racing like I'd hot-wired the Space Needle. Step 2, amplification. I looped in Tyler. Not fully, just enough to dangle Apex bait. Heard Greg's got cold feet on that AI project. Apex might bite. He jumped, scheduling a strategy sync. With Victoria, my hidden mic in his smartwatch, a paranoid's best friend. The recording? Pure dynamite. Victoria, voice oily, Greg sloppy. Phoenix is exposed, Lena talked, you know. We cut ties, or we all sink. Greg's bluster. You think you can flip? After I bankrolled your divorce. Laughter, brittle. Bankrolled. You pimped me out to the board. Eden sniffing. Burn her, or I will. Burn her. Me. The casual venom hit like a gut punch. They weren't just thieves. They were predators, circling wagons as the noose tightened. I forwarded the audio to my burner Dropbox, then escalated. A package to the SEC, anonymous, with redacted Phoenix sheets. Corporate fraud, insider trading links. Enough to trigger a quiet probe, the kind that starts with subpoenas and ends in dawn raids. But controversy shadowed every move. Cashing Lena's check felt like blood pact. I deposited half, earmarked for Mom's grave flowers and a rainy day fund that now felt like hush money. The other half, donated to a women's shelter in East LA, Lena's old hood, anonymously, of course. Good deed or guilt wash. Readers would debate, as I did, staring at my ceiling fan's lazy spin. Lena and I met in neutral turf, a dingy motel off I-5, the kind with vibrating beds and no questions check-ins. She looked wrecked, thinner, tattoos peeking from frayed sleeves like accusations. Greg knows, she said, sliding a USB across the Formica. Vic's files full dirt. He kept backups. We poured over it by laptop glow. NDAs on sexual harassment suits, quashed for team harmony. Diversity hires strong-armed into silence. Even a whistleblower from 5 years back who'd resigned after a suspicious car accident. Greg's empire, built on broken backs. But buried deeper. Victoria's daughter, Mia, emails from her school counselor about stress-induced episodes, tied to Vic's absences during Phoenix runs. She's protecting her kid, Lena whispered. Same as me with Mom. We're all monsters in the margins. I snapped the laptop shut, the room closing in. Then why drag me in? Lena's eyes met mine. Raw? Because you're not. Or weren't. Help me end it, Eden. No more flips. Alliance sealed with a nod, but trust? A threadbare thing. That night, alone in my apartment, I drafted the manifesto, a Medium post, confessions of a corporate fall girl, weaving my story with Phoenix proofs. Names redacted, for now, but hints sharp as switchblades. Post-it, and the dominoes fell. Headlines, lawsuits, my face on the news. Pull back, and I stayed safe, complicit. The decision crystallized over a solitary run along the Burke-Gilman Trail. Evergreen's whispering judgment. Controversial? Hell yes. Exposing fraud meant collateral. Jobs lost. Families upended. Greg's wife, oblivious in their Mercer Island McMansion. Mia's therapy stalled. Lena's green card revoked in the fallout. No heroes here, just survivors scraping for the high ground. But the betrayal's echo, Victoria's smirk, Lena's laugh in the bathroom, drowned the doubt. Post goes live at midnight. Impact hit like a freight train. By morning, my inbox overflowed. Reporters circling, Technova's crisis team in meltdown. Greg called a voluntary meeting, code for ambush. I showed, composed in chinos and a blouse that screamed whistleblower chic, recorder rolling in my pocket. Eden, he started, jowls quivering, rumors are flying. You wouldn't know anything. I finished, sliding printouts across his desk, Phoenix pages, highlighted. Save it, Greg. The SEC's got copies. Resign or rot. He blanched, then flipped, charm offensive. You're in over your head, kid. This is big leagues. Join Phoenix, real money, equity. Your mom's medical debts? Wiped. The offer slithered, tempting as Eden's apple. Flashbacks, sponge baths for mom, the hospital's sterile reek. But his eyes, predatory, like Victoria's in the cafe, sealed it. No thanks. I'm the league now. I left him sweating, the building's AC humming dirge. Noon loomed again, that cursed hour. SEC vans idled outside by 11. Greg emerged in cuffs by 11:30, flashing V signs to stun colleagues. Victoria? MIA, but her apex resignation hit the wires at 12 sharp. Personal reasons. Lena texted. Clean. For now. Victory lap? Not quite. Protests brewed online. Save Technova jobs trending, painting me as the reckless avenger dooming livelihoods. Picket lines formed outside, blue-collar coders chanting against corporate betrayal. Fair. Debatable. I'd lit the fuse, but the powder keg was theirs. That evening, a care package arrived. Chocolates from Tyler, Hero, a subpoena from Apex, Victoria's parting shot, and a letter, handwritten, from Mia Slade, Victoria's daughter. Mom says you're destroying us. But she cries at night. Please stop. The words gutted me. A child's plea cutting deeper than any boardroom barb. I crumpled it, then smoothed it out. Evidence or epiphany. Revenge's climax wasn't triumph. It was this. The mirror cracking, reflecting a woman who'd become the thing she hated. Sides? There were none anymore. Just fallout. Endless and gray as the Puget Sound. As sirens wailed distant, I poured a drink. Not bourbon, but something clearer. Vodka neat, for the burn of truth. The game's far from over. Twists breed more twists. But for tonight, in the quiet, I mourned what was lost. Not just them, but the Eden who'd believed in underdogs. The fallout settled like nuclear winter, a brittle hush over Technova's halls. Greg's arrest dominated the feeds, cuff shot memes, pundits on CNBC dissecting tech's dark underbelly. The board installed a cleanup crew. Interim CEO from Silicon Valley, buzzwords like cultural reset and ethical audits flung like confetti at a funeral. Me? Lionized in some corners, vilified in others. Whistleblower or wrecking ball? The stranger headline blared. My blurred photo splashed across dive bar tables. I kept my head down, logging hours on transition projects, while fielding podcast invites and deposition summons. The promotion stuck, VP of Operations now, with a glass-walled office overlooking the ferry lanes, but it felt like a cage, all plexiglass and pretense. Every congratulatory slap on the back carried subtext, "Don't burn us too." Lena went dark, radio silence after her clean text. I didn't chase. Trust currency was spent. Victoria? A ghost in the machine, her apex exit spun as strategic sabbatical. But whispers reached me via Tyler, now my eager lieutenant. She'd holed up in a condo on Queen and Hill, lawyered to the gills, prepping a tell-all that'd paint her as the real victim. Coerced by Greg, betrayed by Lena, targeted by me. The controversy peaked mid-October, when the SEC probe went public. Subpoenas reigned, my doctored logs from the fix, Lena's code commits. Victoria's dirt files seized in a dawn raid that made local news. Reporters camped my building, mics thrust like swords. Ms. Harper, did you fabricate evidence to frame colleagues? One shouted, a kid from Como with hungry eyes. No comment. But inside, the worm turned. Those logs, my mercy edit for Lena, now loomed like a noose. Felony territory, if twisted right. Sleepless nights blurred into caffeine hazes. I lawyered up too. A shark from Ballard named Ruiz who chain-smoked and swore in Spanglish. Play nice, he advised over greasy foe in the U District. Vic's angling for immunity, naming names. Yours included. Immunity. The word festered. If she flipped fully, spilling my complicity, I'd tumble from VP, perch to perp walk. Counterplay, go nuclear. I met Ruiz's contact, a grizzled ex-fed with a Rolodex of DAs. Leverage, he grunted, flipping through my evidence trove. But it's tainted. Your hands aren't clean, Harper. Tainted. The accusation stung, forcing a reckoning. Was I avenger or accomplice? The lines blurred in America's justice roulette, where whistleblowers get book deals and fall guys get orange jumpsuits. Mia's letter burned a hole in my desk drawer, a talisman of collateral damage. I almost called Victoria, truce flag high. Almost. Instead, the climax crashed on a stormy Thursday, winds howling off the Olympics like banshees. The board summoned me to the C-suite, faces stern around a mahogany slab. Eden, the chair intoned, a silver-haired fossil from the valley, your initiative has cost us millions. But results speak. We need you to testify, clean the slate. Testify. Against whom? Greg was cooked, Lena ghosted. Victoria, they clarified, her immunity deal hinging on my corroboration. She's ready to roll over, the chair said. On everyone. The room tilted. Sides materialized. Testify, and I buried her, but risked my logs surfacing. Decline, and the board cut me loose, painting me as obstructor. Controversy incarnate. No right path, just least wrong turns. I stalled, need time, and bolted to the lot, rain lashing my windshield like judgment. That's when Lena surfaced, not a text, but in flesh, waiting by my Prius, soaked and shivering. Drive, she begged, sliding in uninvited. We peeled out, heading north on 99, wipers slapping rhythm. Vic's got a tape, she gasped. Of us, in the motel. Planning the drop. She's trading it for her deal. Us. The alliance. Twisted into conspiracy. My knuckles whitened on the wheel. Why now? Greg reached out, from holding. Said Vic's daughter. Mia's got cancer. Leukemia. That's why the tuition push, the desperation. Vic's not flipping for spite, it's survival. Again. Cancer. The word detonated. Echoes of mom's chemo chair, the beeps and bile. Mia, 15, fears from her counselor's notes, facing the beast alone while her mom schemed. Empathy surged, warring with rage. And you? I snapped. Still playing both sides? Lena deflated. No more. Here's the out. I hacked Vic's cloud. Full Phoenix blueprint. Greg's, hers, mine. But a kill switch. Expose it all, or we bury it. Immunity for 3. Bury it. Whitewash the web. Let the thieves slink free for a kid's sake. The offer split me, mercy or madness. We pulled over at a roadside diner in Linwood, neon buzzing, open 24/7, like a false promise. Over watery eggs, we debated. Post the blueprint, and empires fall, but Mia suffers, suppress, and we're enablers, the cycle unbroken. You choose, Lena said, eyes pleading. You're the moral core. Moral core? Laughter bubbled, bitter. I'd started this for payback, not philosophy. But as thunder rolled, decision hardened, partial truth. I'd testify, nail Greg's ass, shield Lena's green card with a side deal, but leak Victoria's files selectively. Enough to tank her tell-all, not her daughter's care fund. Controversial as hell, selective justice, where the powerful skate and the vulnerable pay. Readers would rage, vigilante or villain, but in the gray, it felt human. Execution unfolded in a frenzy. Ruiz pulled strings. The DA cut a plea. My testimony for immunity, logs spun as defensive alterations. Victoria's hearing hit 2 days later, courthouse in downtown, a media circus. I took the stand, voice steady, weaving betrayal into indictment. Greg's greed, Lena's coercion, Vic's cover. She watched from the defense table, hollowed, No viper, just a mom clutching a tissue. Cross-exam. Her lawyer, slick as oil, hammered my fabrications. Ms. Harper, isn't it true you doctored evidence to entrap? Objection sustained, but damage lingered. Jurors shifted, doubt rippling. Then the twist. My leak. Time via anonymous drop to the court clerk. Victoria's emails to Greg, begging off Phoenix for Mia's sake. Can't do this anymore. She's sick. End it. Gasps echoed. The judge called recess. Victoria crumbled. Plea bargain on the spot. Reduced charges, community service, restitution. No jail, but her career? Ash. As bailiffs led her out, our eyes met. Not hate, but a weary nod. Survivors recognizing survivors. Lena got probation. Her mom's bills mysteriously paid. My doing, the remaining check. Greg? 10 years, minimum. Technova rebranded. Me at the helm of a new era. But victory? Pyrrhic, etched in compromises. That night, rain easing to mist, I visited Mom's grave in Spokane. Road trip solo, radio crooning Springsteen. Thunder Road, fitting dirge for the road I'd thundered down. Kneeling in the mud, I whispered the tale, half expecting rebuke. Silence answered, save wind in the pines. Back in Seattle, a package waited. From Victoria, no return address. Inside, a succulent, like her offices, with a note. For the barren spots. Grow something good, Eden. V. I planted it on my sill, watered it faithfully. It thrived, green against the gray. But as months ticked, the debates raged online. Forums splitting on my justice. Petitions for Mia's fund, which swelled, anonymously seeded. No clean wins, just the messy march. And me? Stronger, scarred, still scheming in small ways. Revenge taught its lesson. It's never solo, always shared. A chain of choices binding betrayer and betrayed. In America's tense tableau, we all flip, all fall. The question lingers, who pays the tab? Winter clamped Seattle in its iron fist. Holidays a blur of forced cheer and eggnog that tasted like regret. Technova's rebirth gala, corporate rebrand bingo, loomed, a black tie farce in the Olympic Hotel's ballroom, where execs in tuxes toasted resilience over shrimp puffs. I attended as the face of renewal, gown ill-fitting like my smile, scanning the crowd for ghosts. None appeared. Lena had vanished for real. Rumors of a move to Portland, QA remote for a nonprofit, coding apps for Migrate. Fitting penance, or fresh start. Victoria? Spotted once, at a PDA meeting per the tabloids, Mia's arm linked in hers, both gaunt but grinning. The cancer battle raged on. GoFundMe updates chronicled chemo wins, community rallies. No charges stuck. Her plea evaporated in the ether of mitigating circumstances. Me? The board's golden girl, but cracks showed. Nightmares of logs resurfacing. Anonymous emails hinting, we know, Eden. Paranoia, or payback. Ruiz shrugged it off. Ghost gonna ghost. But I doubled locks, varied routes home. Power's perch is precarious, especially for women who wield it like a borrowed sword. The gala peaked in schmooze hell. Valley VCs pumping me for the real dirt. Reporters veiled as guests probing for scoops. Then, a tap on my shoulder. Tyler, dapper in cummerbund, champagne flute extended. Boss lady, dance. We swayed to some forgettable jazz standard, his cologne cloying. Heard Vic's writing a book. He murmured, breath hot on my ear. Your name's Chapter 3. The Avenger's Shadow. Ice water in my veins. Book. Her tell-all, dusted off and weaponized. I pulled back, smile plastic. Let her write. Fiction sells. But sleep evaded that night. Hotel suite echoing with what-ifs. If she dropped my complicity, the logs, the leaks, I'd plummet. Lawsuits, disgrace, maybe bars. Counter, preempt. Leak her manuscript first, spin it as sour grapes. But that'd torch me as fragile peace, drag a kid through ink and infamy. Dawn found me pacing terrycloth robe, phone in hand. Call Victoria? Demand a meet? Or let karma's wheel turn, accept the spin? Controversy's core, no absolutes, just angles. I chose the wild card, texted Lena's old number, a Hail Mary. Vic's book. Help. Reply pinged instant. On it. Portland coffee? Neutral. We met 2 days later, under overcast skies at a roastery in the Pearl District, hipsters oblivious to our tension. Lena looked reborn. Hair cropped short, tattoo sleeves bold. A barista's apron swapped for freelance cred. Vic reached out last week, she said, sliding a latte my way. Chapter draft. Your shadow? Accurate, but redemptive. Redemptive. The word dangled, bait on a hook. She passed her tablet. Pages chronicling Phoenix from her view. Greg's predation, her coercion, my ruthless precision in dismantling it. But woven in, praise. Eden Harper didn't just seek revenge. She exposed a system rotten to the core. Flawed. Yes. Fierce. Undeniably. Flattery or trap. I scrolled, gut twisting at the truths. My log tweaks called a desperate act of loyalty gone awry. The motel plot, a pact born of shared scars. Mia featured too. Not victim, but catalyst. My daughter taught me mercy. Eden, unknowingly, echoed it. Echoed. The implication landed. Weeds circled back, mirrors reflecting not monsters, but mothers, daughters, dreamers dented by the grind. What's the ask? I pressed, voice low. Lena leaned in. Co-write the epilogue. Your side. Balanced book. No sides, just story. Royalties to Mia's fund. The offer split the room's warm haze. Co-write. Sanitize the sins. Profit from pain. Readers would howl, sell out or sage, but in the quiet calculus, it fit. Closure without erasure. Debate without destruction. I nodded, tentative. Draft first. No punches pulled. Months unspooled in collaborative fury. Google Docs pinging cross-state. Revisions raw as open wounds. Victoria joined virtually, voice modulated through Zoom filters. Her condo backdrop a blur of books and basil. Arguments flared, me demanding Greg's depravity unvarnished, her softening Lena's youthful errors, Lena mediating with Coder's logic. Truth's modular, she'd say. Assemble wisely. The book dropped spring, shadows in the server room, a tech betrayal unveiled. Launch at Elliott Bay, packed with skeptics and supporters. I read my epilogue on stage, voice cracking on the line. Revenge isn't a straight line. It's a spiral, pulling us all inward until we face the reflection. Q&A devolved into melee. Eden, was it worth the lives ruined? A coder shouted. Or just feminist revenge porn? Countered a suit. Sides fractured. Server shadows trended. Podcast dissected our morality play. No consensus, just the delicious discord I'd craved, now bittersweet. Twist landed post-launch. Royalties check, fat and framed, donated publicly to cancer research. But tucked inside, a PS from Victoria. Mia's in remission. Thanks for the mercy you didn't know you gave. Truce. Truce. I framed it beside the succulent. Now a jungle on my sill. Lena visited summer, Portland IPA in hand. Toasting underdogs evolved. We laughed. Real, rusty, at old scars, plotting nothing but peace. Ending? Not happy, not tragic, just American, resilient, ragged, ripe for round two. I drive the 5 now, windows down, Springsteen shuffling. Betrayal forged me, revenge refined, but the road? It curves eternal, promising more flips, more fights. And in that tension, we thrive, or try. As for the HR manager who started it all, she fades into adjunct lectures at community colleges, teaching ethics and business with a wink. By noon each day, her class debates, hero or hypocrite. The answer, like us, defies sides.